This is the human heart. Central to our physical body, our survival, revered by poets throughout history as the emotional center of our being. The place we instinctively touch when asked to point to ourselves. And now, what we have known intuitively is being understood scientifically. Researchers are unlocking a new science of the heart that could change everything we know about health and our interconnected nature. Coherence is a state of balance between heart, mind, and emotions, creating a favorable cascade of neural, hormonal, and biochemical events that benefit the entire body. But this phenomenon not only benefits us personally, it affects everything around us, emitting an electromagnetic field that can be measured up to 3 feet outside of the body. When you are in coherence, your heart resonates at the same frequency as the Earth's magnetic field. This frequency positively affects everything around you. When a group of people are in coherence together, this effect is magnified. Could communities synchronized in coherence lower violence, accelerate cooperation, and global harmony? This is the purpose of the Global Coherence Pulse. If we can measure the impact of thousands of people in coherence at the same time, it could lead to a breakthrough in understanding the full potential of the human heart. All you need to participate is your presence and your heart. To take it to the next level, join the research study by downloading the app and getting an HRV monitor to measure your personal coherence. The world needs it more than ever before. Each human heart is unique and magnificent by itself. But imagine what could be possible when we unify.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our Global Coherence Pulse for November 2021. My name is Teresa Collins, and I'm co-founder of the Global Coherence Pulse, and I'll be hosting this special session today. And I want to start by saying thank you for taking time out of your day to be here with us, because your presence and your participation matters. And I love seeing that we have such a global reach. You know, when you first come on in the chat, and if you haven't yet, please, share where you're coming in from. I see we're all around the world. We're Germany and Chile and United States and Japan. And it's just so heartwarming to know that there's people all around the world who are taking time out of their day to learn more about coherence, to be able to cultivate greater coherence. I actually wholeheartedly believe that cultivating individual and collective coherence is one of the most essential things that we can be doing together right now. Because what we feed the field matters, as Roland McCready always says, and it does have an impact. So we've hosted 44 pulses so far, featuring partners and artists that have been adding their love and perspectives to this collective coherence experiences. And then there's you. The Pulse would not be here without you. And I wanted to do a quick poll. We've done 44 pulses so far, so I wanted to do a quick poll. I'm going to put on my glasses to see. I want to launch a quick poll, and I want to see how many pulses have you attended, and you can just fill that out. We'll see the numbers going up. And if it's your first time, welcome. We're so excited to have you with us. I love when we have people on for the first time. And those of us that have been on to many pulses, let's just send a wave of loving energy to all of those who are joining us the first time. So I see some of you have been with us almost the whole time, 33 to 44. Yeah, 7% have been long. This is really fantastic. Thank you so much. And it really does have an impact. We're on a call with Roland McCready, who's also part of our team with the Global Coherence Pulse. And he said that Roger Nelson had checked the magnetometers of all of our pulses just to see if we could see a pattern or we could see any impact. And what he said was there was a consistent impact that he could see. So again, thank you for joining us, because we're really growing our capacity for sustained coherence when we do this together. And we're deepening our awareness of the potential that we have when we come together like this and pulse the planet with the potency of our collective heart. So today, our theme is global coherence in these unprecedented times. It feels like a really very timely conversation and experience for us to have together. And I can think, I'm going to come on gallery view so you can see everyone. So if you're on the call, please turn on your cameras, everyone. And I can't think of a better set of hearts to share on this subject than these dear friends and longtime colleagues of mine, Jim Garrison, who's the president of Ubiquity University and Humanity Rising. And Jim, you guys have done like 366 summit experiences together and brought coherence into every single one. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And Claudia Wells, who is the co-founder also of the Global Coherence Pulse. She was one of the founding members of the Global Coherence Initiative with HeartMath, and she's the president of Institute of Noetic Sciences, along with so many other things that she has her hands in, and really excited to have her share with you today as well. So Claudia, thanks for coming on. And Apela Colorado, who for me, she embodies the indigenous heart in all of their expressions. And Apela, it's so nice to see you again. I haven't seen you in so many years, and I love you so much. Thank you for being on today.
Oh, good morning, Teresa. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. And our musical guest today is Cornflower, who, always enters the current of what's being generated on these pulses when he is our featured musician. And I find that he helps us to open wider and to rise higher in the frequency of our energy and our love. So thank you, Cornflower, for joining us today. Super excited to have you here. So this event runs 75 to 90 minutes, and it includes some opening thoughts that we'll have from Claudia and Jim. And then Cornflower, Apela, and Jim are going to guide us on our coherence experience. And then we'll close with some reflections and announcements, and then some music to take us out. So we always like to start all of our sessions just with a moment of presence. We all can, wherever we are on the planet, just take a moment. And I always like to feel the bottom of my feet. It just takes me out of my head for a moment and really connects me with being right here on this beautiful planet. So much gratitude for all of this beautiful Mother Planet provides for us. She can sure use our presence and care right now. And then just simply bring your awareness into the center of your heart. And feel your breath moving in and out of this one point. And just evoke a positive feeling that you'd like to bring into this field today and leave with more of when we're complete. So may this next 75 to 90 minutes be nourishing for your soul And let's pulse the planet with the potency of our collective love and coherence. And so to begin, I'd really like to hand this over now to Claudia Wells. So lovely to have you on the call, Claudia, and thank you so much for all you do to bring coherence into the world in the ways that you do.
Thank you, Teresa. My gratitude to you and to all our guests today. It's so exciting to be together. And thank you, everyone, for joining Global Coherence in unprecedented times. And many of us are wondering if this is, in fact, the end of history as we know it. I thought I'd share today that I woke up the other night with this vague feeling of alarm about being on this nice edge of history. Because one of the beautiful things about practicing coherence that I hope we're all discovering is that we develop an increased awareness of our feeling states and an increased capacity for being able to intentionally transform them in the moment. And so on that particular night, to do that, I flashed on what the Dalai Lama told a group of scientists at a Science of Compassion meeting in New Delhi in 2019, when he advised us that when the world looks bad, look at a flower. There is another truth. Obviously, he wasn't advocating for turning a blind eye to our challenges. He was pointing out that in our manifest reality, there are simultaneous truths. And it matters which truth we put our attention on, because attention energizes realities. So for example, if we put our attention on the unprecedented nature of these times, not as the potential beginning of everything or the beginning of the end of everything that we know and love, but as the evolutionary driver that we need to wake us up to who we really are and to why we're really here, we can feel the energy and inspiration that's liberated within us by that alternative perception, even if it can be hard to access in those moments when we need it the most. And that's why we practice heart coherence. The heart is an organ of perception, and science has demonstrated that by training our attention to authentic, life-affirming emotions, instead of allowing it to get hijacked by the ever-present stressors in our lives, the heart orchestrates an inner coherence that expands our perception to include new insights and new solutions that affirm life based on more holistic ways of seeing. And what are these unprecedented times but humanity's initiation into new ways of seeing? As we turn our attention to creating collective coherence, the scientific paradigm that keeps much of the world trapped in a story of fundamental separation and the reality we're living because of that story will necessarily transform as well, because this is also an initiation into a new story and new ways of being based on the fundamental oneness of all life. We're being initiated into seeing the truth of ourselves as a conscious part of the self-healing mechanism of life, as Thomas Hübl says, where we realize that every act of healing separation, every deliberate energetic shift away from fear and towards love and compassion, towards care and appreciation, strengthens the field of planetary healing. In the Humanity Rising series that Teresa referenced, Jim Garrison identifies effective strategies for world change at every scale. The Pulse and initiatives like it are growing in numbers because growing numbers of people are turning on to the fact that generating heart coherence is such an effective strategy, and that we each have this natural agency in helping reunite humanity with itself and realign humanity with the coherence of nature, allowing us to more fully participate with the greater organizing principles of life that we've been ignoring at our own peril. Many scientists are now sounding the alarm about an unstoppable momentum of natural forces threatening life on Earth. And you know, in that truth, it's pretty scary. It's looking pretty bad. But there's a simultaneous truth that we can put our attention on: the flowering of another unstoppable momentum. This one, a natural power so great that it can shift our world to a new, higher order equilibrium. And of course, I'm talking about the power of a critical mass of heart coherent energy that we generate. Assisting us in making this growing momentum of coherence visible to itself is the Global Coherence Initiative sensor network of magnetometers, the Global Consciousness Project's random number generators, our tree monitoring system, and analysis of global events and sentiment metrics, all of which are designed to allow science to observe correlations between changes in these devices and metrics and coherence building strategies like the pulse. And what for me is essentially a new science of love and the beginning of a scientific paradigm that embraces the essential oneness of all things. I've shared before that astrobiologist Bruce Damer, whose work is in discovering the origins of life on Earth, believes that finding and using tools for creating coherence is the most important work of the 21st century. Are we ready to own that by committing to our personal coherence, we're doing the most important work of the 21st century? And that's what we're collectively doing as part of the Citizen Science Initiative. I'd like to invite today's host, Jim Garrison, to join us in a consideration of that. Having Jim on the pulse is like a coming home for us. I met Jim at the State of the World Forum in 1995, and in the early 2000s worked with him and Barbara Marx Hubbard and Teresa to establish conscious evolution studies at Wisdom University, where Teresa and I also participated in the Chartres Mystery School at Chartres Cathedral in France with Jim and Apela, and during which time I wrote many academic papers, each one of them focused on coherence as an effective strategy for world change at every scale. So Jim has served as president of Wisdom University from 2005 until 2012, at which point he led its acquisition by Ubiquity University, where he's founder, president, chief academic officer, and convener of Humanity Rising, which is a daily solutions platform that was one of the earliest hosts of the Global Coherence Pulse. Thank you, Jim. A social and political activist since the 1960s, he spent his entire professional life in executive leadership positions, including as co-founder and president of the Gorbachev Foundation, Mikhail Gorbachev Foundation USA, and the State of the World Forum. Jim has advanced degrees from both Harvard and Cambridge, and integral philosopher Ken Wilber called him one of the great visionaries of our time. And truly, Jim has one of the most comprehensive knowledge bases of anyone I've ever known. But more importantly, he's able to translate that knowledge into wisdom with such alacrity and heartfelt eloquence that it's able to penetrate the defenses of the self-perpetuating bubble that surrounds global culture. And in that way, and in so many ways, he's helping equip humanity for dealing with these unprecedented times. So Jim, thank you so much for being with us. I'd like to invite you on.
Thank you, Claudia, so much. And thank you, Teresa, very much. It's always good to be back with old friends, because, you know, old friends are like old wine. They aren't made easily or very quickly. They have to age over time. So I feel like I'm coming home in a way to be able to join you with Apela, who I've known for a very long time, for this session. I want to just acknowledge Teresa and Claudia. It was Teresa first, then reinforced by Claudia, that gave me the idea to start each of the Humanity Rising sessions with a heart coherence centering. I had been wanting to do something for our opening session on the 22nd of May in 2020. And Teresa said, well, if you're going to do it for the opening session, you should do it for every session. And I thought, what a great idea. And Claudia reinforced it, Roland, and so here we are. And I must say, when we start each session of Humanity Rising, and we just take a minute or two to center ourselves in our hearts, attuned to our heartbeat, in a spirit of gratitude and deep thanksgiving, you can feel that the field, even though it's dispersed all over the world, we have people listening in from over 130 countries, you can just feel the coherence, sometimes in a very palpable way. So I just want to acknowledge Teresa and Claudia for their guidance in this matter with deep appreciation. In the few moments that we have today, I want to take just one aspect of Ilya Prigoghine's notion around the relationship between the islands of coherence and the sea of chaos. I know that he's well known to all of you. He is featured from time to time. His quote appears at the beginning of each session. But there's a particular aspect of Prigogine that I just want to tease out today, because I think it speaks very powerfully to our time. You know, heart coherence in an unprecedented time. Fundamental to his theory and his understanding of the relationship between coherence and chaos is that coherence doesn't arise separate from chaos. And that's often intuitively how you would think about it, that if you want to have peace, you get out of the hustle and bustle and go to somewhere where there's no hustle and bustle. But Prigogine very insightfully, and this is one of the reasons why he got the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, said that true coherence is always in relationship to the chaos. And it is, in fact, the capacity of the coherence to absorb and transmute the chaos that enables the chaos when the coherence rises to a certain level of intensity and clarity to also shift state. That's very important. And I want to discuss that for just a few minutes in relationship to the rising chaos that we see all around us, and strike the note that it is our capacity in this time to absorb more and more and more chaos and transmute it that is going to be the key ingredient in whether we survive what's coming. So I want to note that coherence is not static. Coherence is highly dynamic because it's shape-shifting all the time as the chaos rises and falls. You know, if you think about just the last 18 months, just think for a moment about everything that we've gone through just with the pandemic. Remember back to March 2020, that's about 18 months ago. Pandemic, and the next thing all of us knew, we were in lockdown. And we were engaging in social distancing. Human beings hadn't been globally put in lockdown or engaged in social distancing in the history of the human race. And all of a sudden we were in isolation. That caused a lot of stress. And just think back, how did you deal with that stress? How did you navigate? Probably a lot of us watched a lot of Netflix, and there was all kinds of jokes about how people were navigating. But what we observed worldwide was rises in depressions, anxieties, crime, alcoholism, drug abuse, all kinds of domestic violence, suicides. And they're still on the rise all over the world. So that's just the stress and the chaos that's emanated just out of the pandemic. And that was on top of all of our normal stresses. Just being alive on planet Earth, working and engaging in our social relationships. And then in the last 12 months or so, we've also been experiencing all over the world rising ecological turbulence. Just a few days ago in British Columbia, in Canada, they had 2 once-in-a-century storms within 2 weeks of each other. Earlier this year in Germany, they had storms and floods that were without parallel in recorded history, all over the world. I'm from California. Fires, droughts, floods, off the charts. The International Panel for Climate Change, the IPCC, has says we have now entered unprecedented territory. And that's why the Secretary General of the United Nations says we're now in code red, because we're now in a irrevocable escalation of ecological turbulence, in the face of which our governance structures, our institutions are less and less capable of ensuring stability. That's real chaos. And we're watching it unfold all around us. And then if you look within human affairs, what do we see? Is rising polarization. United States being a classic prime example of the increasing social discontinuity and civil strife and rising authoritarianism. So our world is like a powder keg of stress and chaos. And in the middle of all that is the global coherence pulse. Humanity rising. Hundreds of other thousands, maybe millions of other organizations all trying to do good in the world. And I think what I wanted to bring in to this conversation is that our heart coherence that we practice every day or whenever we can needs to internalize the deep truth of Prigogine, that the islands of coherence cannot cause the chaos to shift state unless the coherence is able to absorb all that chaos. So what do we do in a time such as ours when chaos is off the charts? I don't know the answer to that question. But I know that that is the task at hand. And what I was saying to Teresa early when she invited me to speak is I said, you know, I would love to come on because for me now, something like the global coherence pulse that say 3 or 4 or 5 years ago was interesting and let's do it if we have time, I would submit to you today that achieving heart coherence has become a national security issue. It has become the most important thing we can do. That's why we do it every day on Humanity Rising, without exception, whatever the subject, whoever's on. And I want to bring in 2 examples of what I mean, because they have emerged as examples par excellence. You know, you think of classic example is Jesus on the cross. He was able to absorb all that inflicted pain, even up to a crucifixion, with such inner coherence that he was able to say, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. Had he not been able to absorb everything, and for even a millisecond, struck back in anger or wished for retribution, there would have been no Christian religion. It was his capacity to absorb it all that enabled the chaos to go up to the next level of coherence. Another real quick example is Mother Teresa. I happened to have the very good fortune, completely by accident, when I was a boy, to visit her in Calcutta. And we'd come in just to look at the sights, and we were staying at a house, and we were asking about what we should see. And a man said, whatever else you do, you have to go visit this nun, because she's doing something that is extraordinary. So I was just a little boy, and my father, we all bundled up and we went out there to this Missionaries of Charity. And we watched how Mother Teresa and those sisters were picking up babies out of gutters. And I cringed. And she just loved them and kissed them and told them that they were beautiful. Mother Teresa became Mother Teresa because she had the capacity to absorb all the chaos into an unbelievably beautiful heart. And that's why she's been canonized as a saint. And as I'm convening all these panels on Humanity Rising and interacting with people worldwide on every conceivable issues, looking for all the solutions, I'm finding more and more that people are talking about breakdown. People are hoping desperately for breakthrough. How do we make it through this thicket? And more, I'm coming to see what I'm sharing with you tonight, that the fulcrum between the breakdown that we see all around us and the breakthrough that we yearn for with all of our hearts is going to be determined not by our governments. What we saw in COP26 is that the governments once again just kicked the can down the road. Not by our major institutions, but by people of goodwill, people of pure heart, who are able to expand their hearts wide enough to absorb all the chaos building up in the planetary ecosystem. And in some mysterious way, beyond our understanding, transmute that chaos into a coherence that redeems. I believe finally that the coherence has two forms. I think there's an inner coherence, just sitting in deep meditation, listening to your heartbeat. And I also think if we're going to pull this off, there's an outer coherence. And if all of us are as active externally in the world as we are active internally, building our coherence and then bringing our coherence out into the world in whatever way the passion of your heart dictates is right for you. That, my friends, in my view, is what it's going to take to ensure the pathway forward that we all know is there. We know there's a way through this thicket, but I think it's now come down to us. And so once again, I believe that the exercises like the Global Coherence Pulse, seen by many to be on the margins, have now become central, urgently central to everything we yearn for the human future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, so much. Thank you so much for really claiming that right here, right now. Thank you for bringing coherence into every single one of the conversations that you've hosted in the summit, nonstop, with so much love. And I can see from your presence today that you're taking on that challenge to absorb the chaos and stay present in your heart as you do it. And it inspires us all to really reach for that passion inside of us and that cellular certainty that we know it's up to us and that we have everything we need. Thank you. Thank you so much for your service. Thank you so much for your heart. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, I think it would be really nice before we go into the meditation that we bring on Cornflower and that we have a little chance just to take that in, really take it in, as Cornflower just helps to open our hearts and really bring us even more and more present. Cornflower, so happy to have you back. Happy to see you feeling healthy and happy, and really just place ourselves into your loving heart and hands.
Thank you, Teresa. Just wanted to add a few things that I got inspired by throughout Claudia and Jim's sharings. Claudia mentioned, is this the end of history? And if it is the end of his story, I feel like it's the beginning of our story. And what Jim was saying about coherence rising up with the chaos, and then how do we do that, you know? And there's a story about Sipapu, the Hopi people speak of, and I've actually written a song about it. And Sipapu is actually the center of the Inipi, the sweat lodge, but the deeper mythology is that Sipapu is actually the door between ages. And when I dropped into meditation around what that is, that doorway, I got that that's our heart. And I believe it's our capacity to open when there is contraction. And so when I hear chaos and coherence, I hear chaos is contraction, and then coherence is opening. It's an expanding, it's an allowing. And so I just wanted to place that into the field and offer that to meditate on as I drop into the music. So let's just see ourselves opening and holding all that's unfolding with our coherence.
Hey, Cornflower, we're not hearing your mixer. Great. Hmm. Bless you, Cornflower.
Thank you.
Bless you so much. Thank you. So we're going to move into our meditation with Apela and Jim. And then Cornflower will bring us out of that meditation with some music. So let's all settle in. And we'll bring, here's Apela. Hello, beautiful. So good to see you.
Same here. Teresa, I'm going to light some cedar. And I have my water here for listening to our prayer and feeling that heart coherence. And when I'm done with the prayer, although you won't see it, I'll take this out, and I live on a sacred site, and which is about conception of life, and I will offer the water here and my flame. So with this, please take a deep breath and join me in this contemplation. Lighting my cedar now. The great directions of life, to Mother Earth, to Great Spirit, to self-direction, the heart of coherence. Sungwai Disung ancestors, I call to you today from the middle of the Pacific and the most remote landmass of the world, the Hawaiian Islands. How people came to be here across thousands of miles of open ocean with no instruments, with no compass, with no elder, somehow arrived. What is that mystery that allows us to be one place, one way, then another? We look for that way now. Here on the islands, there's an old way of the Va'a, or the twin-hulled voyaging canoe. Va, signifying time. A, the companion star of Sirius. Mysteriously embodied in the architecture of the two hulls with a platform, ocean-going vessel, is the coherence we seek. A power so great that people could set out from the south, 3,000 miles of open ocean, and arrive here safely. One must know where one comes from. Intention, desire, the beginning of coherence, and longing too, and acceptance of the binary reality of two hulls, of two ways, ways that bring in time through the stars, through the Southern Cross, the Va'a of the heavens. Time opens in a creation chant. Sitting on the platform, joining the hulls, aware of where we come from. The need for life depends upon our ability to recognize the dark and the light, the binary reality of the vessel that carries us. What is this mystery that permits us to accept the binary, the chaos, the peace, the dark, the light, What we sit on, the pola, has a meaning. The meaning refers to the planet Venus, whose complex cycle of morning star, evening star, disappearance forms the five-pointed star in the nighttime sky and its risings. That star is the star of love. It is through this intelligent, conscious choosing, combined with desire, combined with acknowledgement of the shadow, of the chaos, and the role that it plays along with the light. We look into our hearts today. Who do I hate? What causes me anxiety? What comes in my dreams and my nightmares? Those moments, points of dark light, hold the gold for us. In the morning, as the nighttime fades and dawn arrives, a cascade of birdsong erupts to join the worlds. Let our heartbeats, let our prayers, let our desires, let our darkness too join in that prayer set in motion eons ago, and so move in this time between worlds, between the fourth and the fifth world, when the earth, now mother, goes through her changes, with the song in our hearts, joining the birds between the worlds, we dance with uncertainty, and so move in to the next world. Ah, Mama. Oh, I know. Amen.
Thank you, Apela. As we rest within this music, let us center ourselves in our bodies. Take a breath. And for the next little while, let us attune ourselves to our heartbeats. In a spirit of gratitude and deep thanksgiving. That we're alive. That this most extraordinary, fragile, and potentiated moment in the human journey. For the next few minutes, let us contemplate that intimate relationship between chaos and coherence in our lives, in our world. And ask ourselves, how big is our heart? Let us start by just all of us just thinking of our own personal lives. Think of all the chaos that you're dealing with. Is your heart big enough? Is your love deep enough? To create coherence out of that chaos in your single life? Now think of your experience, the experience of your friends and your family, your community during the pandemic. Remember the lockdowns. Remember the masks, the social distancing, the isolation, the anxiety at every symptom, asking yourself, is this COVID? Is your heart big enough? Is your love deep enough? To transmute all that chaos still with us into coherence? Are all of our hearts all put together big enough? Is our love deep enough to absorb a tiny little virus and transmute it into coherence? Now contemplate all the ecological turbulence that you've experienced, that you've seen on the news. The suffering of the migrations of refugees, the droughts, the floods, the fires, the storms. Consider all that the world is going through right now as a planet, as an ecosystem. Is your heart big enough? Is your love deep enough? Are all of our hearts all put together big enough? Is our love deep enough to enfold a tortured planetary ecosystem? Into our inner sanctum and transmute it into coherence. Can we do that? Now contemplate all the strife, all the polarization, all the conflict in which we humans engage. The racism, the misogyny, the false news, the authoritarianism, all the ways we rend ourselves asunder. Is your heart big enough? Is your love deep enough? Are all of our hearts together big enough? Is our love deep enough to absorb all that? And transmute it into coherence. Can we do that? Let us hold in this place, at this hour, a heart as big as the world. And a love that draws from every corner of our universe. Right now, let us draw that in. And let us consecrate ourselves to holding all the chaos swirling around us with a purity of intent, a depth of humility, such that we can forgive everyone and everything, including ourselves, and offer ourselves as a pure vessel to that spirit of our earth that loves us and wants us to hold her in this moment. Hope.
Mm. Thank you, Apela and Jim and Cornflower, for such an extraordinary and powerful heart coherence experience. I'd love for all of you to turn on your cameras so that we can maybe share some final words before we do our announcements and our closing song. Yeah, I'm going to go into gallery view so I can see us all. Jim, I could really feel your heart in that meditation. I know it happens to me sometimes where you're so inside of it. That's really the powerful part, where you can feel yourself opening as you're inviting everyone to open, and really so appreciate all that you shared today. And it's so nice that we're back together again, all of us here. We've been doing this for a long time, and that we have a chance to share our love and presence like this. So thank you so much, Jim. Thank you for coming on. And wonder if you might have some words that you want to share with all that love. I know when you are asking, are our hearts big enough? Is our love deep enough? I really felt like it so is when we're together. It's hard when we're by ourselves, but when we're together like this, it's infinite what we're capable of. And you really helped us feel that today.
Well, thank you. And I think particularly with the pandemic, for 18 months now, we've been kind of forced away from each other. And, my heart has yearned, my body has yearned for just contact. And I think just being with the two of you and knowing that this is the most important thing to be doing in the world right now gave me a sense of just deep belonging. So I just want to acknowledge that and thank you both for inviting us in.
Thank you so much, Jim. And Claudia. Wow, so much.
Well, I want to echo Jim's gratitude. But first, I want to say something to Cornflower. I earlier used this quote from the Dalai Lama: "When the world looks bad, look at a flower." I am changing that, or at least amending it to listen to Cornflower when the world looks bad. There is another truth, Cornflower, and you bring it so beautifully. Thank you. As do you, Jim. And I'm so glad that you went deeper into the relationship between chaos and coherence, because, it's also true that the deeper a system is in chaos, the further it is from equilibrium or stability. And that means the less energy it takes to create a shift. Like the straw that breaks the camel's back is the metaphor I always think of. And we're so far from equilibrium right now. I really pray that we don't need to get further. But it makes me feel like, how close might we be, since we're so far, how close might we be to creating that critical mass of coherence needed to create that shift? And, we're not just adding the power of our individual hearts together, because coherence creates the conditions for the whole to be greater than the sum of the parts. So I just wanted to add that. I mean, we could be so close. Sometimes I feel like the kid in the back of the car. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? My faith is that we're almost there. So thank you so much, Jim, for bringing us closer. And of course, Teresa and Apela. Wow, it was wonderful to hear your words again. You brought me right back to the cathedral where I heard you last. You still embody all those amazing energies. So thank you so much, everybody. Teresa, as always, thank you.
So beautiful. Cornflower, this is your first time back in a while, and it's so lovely to have you again. And thank you so much for just always just tuning into the current of our collective heart and helping us to just keep opening it wider.
Deepest honor to get to be a part of this co-creation and to feel, and I just feel it's such an honor to be an instrument of this time and to be remembering with all of you, to be alive at this time with all of you, and to learn and grow each day. And every time I come on and join in with these events, I grow. It's like a jump point for me. I grow so deeply into who I am and why I'm here, even more. And just deep gratitude, Teresa and Claudia, for bringing us all together in this container, and for what you both carry in Coherence and how you show up. And Jim, I'd never met you before, and I'd never heard of you before until now, and that was such a profound experience for me. Thank you so much for what you're living and breathing and sharing in the world. I could feel it all. I could feel the journey of your life in the moment that you were sharing and all that you've brought with you. And thank you for carrying that and sharing that with us. And Apela, it was so deeply grounding to feel and hear your voice and to see you share. And it's so transformative getting to be together in this way, because it really calls you to tune into the field, because we're not fully present in a room together. And I find that sometimes we take for granted the field when we're together in person. And here we're having to reach out our energy and really connect beyond the physical through this medium. And I think it's a great experiment for what this whole thing is about. And it's just such an honor to be an instrument and be a part of this. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Cornflower. So we're going to hear from Cornflower one more time. He's just going to take us out, and we just let him just whatever he wants to do. But before we do that, I just have 3 very simple announcements. First, I really would like to invite you, if you're thinking about making a year-end gift this year, to the things in your life that have really supported you, to consider making a contribution to the Global Coherence Pulse. We've raised enough money this year to cover all of our expenses of putting on these events, but we haven't raised enough to be able to give any resources to the people who put this on, Kaylin and Ian in the back end, my team with Live It Now Productions. And we need to have some resources to be able to start again next year and really grow this. If it's one of the most essential things for us to be doing on the planet right now, if we all give a little bit, if we all give what we can, if we can give more. But please consider making a gift to the Global Coherence Pulse, and know that in your giving, we're able to do more together. So really thank you for that. And 2, Humanity Rising. Jim and his team are continuing to host an event every day. I don't know how much longer, Jim, that you're going to do that, but they are fantastic. And there's a whole library of resources and different conversations from every different angle. And so important that it's happening. So please, there's a link there for you to join. They'll send you emails all the time, and you can see which ones you'd like to jump on. And tonight we're doing a double hitter. So Global Coherence Pulse once a quarter also hosts Saturday Night Alive. Jim is going to be contributing to that, and so many others. And it's an opportunity for us to just carry this energy from today, from this morning that we've generated, into the evening together, and really look at how do we live in the current of our purpose and celebrate this rising of our collective heart. So I hope that you'll join us. There's links for all of those there, and bring your energy into the session tonight. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for adding your heart. Without of you, we wouldn't have the Global Coherence Pulse really making an impact and a difference on the planet. And let's keep growing our numbers and our impact and the quality of our presence. So thank you, everyone. And Cornflower, this is for you. Take us out for our day.
Thank you, Teresa. Earlier I mentioned Sapapu. It's one of my songs. and with regards to the path of the heart through the ages of experience here on the planet. And I want to bring that song through now, so I hope you enjoy it. And if you feel called to move your body, I highly recommend it.
Mm. Let's take all this love that we're feeling, all of this beautiful, coherent energy of our collective heart, and let's just one more moment pulse this planet with our love and care. And to Cornflower and Claudia and Jim and Apela, all of the people who make this possible, and to every single one of you. Thank you so much. Join us tonight for our Saturday Night Alive. I know some people had trouble with the donation link, and you could always send an email to info@Global Coherence Pulse, and we can send you a link that's easy to work. And we really appreciate all of your love and offerings. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye-bye.